Hello, welcome to The Secret Mind. Today, I'm going to appear as though I'm going to go off topic again because I'm trying to set up things that I want to revisit during the year. So this is a specific topic and it's important that I set it up in the first week, and you'll see why. There is something going on with money. And the thing about money is that poverty is very related to health outcomes. And yet it's something as doctors we may not ask about. It's a bit embarrassing, a bit sensitive, and probably sometimes the people who give advice at the Citizens Advice Bureau on financial matters are much more effective in helping people's lives than doctors are, particularly prescription pad doctors. You can't prescribe away debt or stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying this is the answer for it, but we're not very well trained in money. I did an economics O-level, but we just learnt the basics, learnt what a share was, gross national product, but we didn't learn very much about it. People don't teach you very much about money. There's a program years ago with Adrian Charles, Working Lunch. Brilliant! Told you something about what you need to know, and yet the people who know about money seem to get richer and everybody else seems to get poorer. But there's something that has hit the airwaves over the last few years which is getting hard to ignore, and that I'm not sure I really understand. So I'm going to explore it here. And that is, wait for it, Bitcoin. And the question I'm going to ask is Bitcoin good for your health? Is Bitcoin the healthy option? So where do you start? You've got to start somewhere. It looks like it's been a total disaster over the last year. It's hit all the headlines. There's various frauds going on. And yet it's still around, and how many of us really understand it? I'm not a financier. I'm a medic. I don't know anything more than perhaps you do about it. But I want to look at it. So at the beginning of the year, I had a bit of an idea. First of all, let's work out what it is. And then when we don't know, in medicine, we do an experiment. So I'm going to tell you about the experiment that I propose. Today's experiment, first of all, is for me to try and get used to how to use extra video and screen recording, which is a nuisance because I don't know what I'm doing. So today I've just put up Clipchamp, which I think is a Microsoft free bit of software. I'm going to have to record this in slices and then hopefully be able to show screenshots of what my idea is. So let's see how I go. Wish me luck. But I don't want to spend all day doing it. So first of all, what is Bitcoin? From what I've seen and read, it is computer code, digital money, to which I would think, well, I thought pretty much all money was digital now anyway, isn't it? I've had an empty wallet for the last month and I haven't missed it in terms of going about my daily business. It's referred to repeatedly as decentralized, which I think means that nobody runs it, no single person can run off with it, unless you leave it somewhere where they can. Lots of people call it a scam, and yet it seems to have been around a while, so it's not clear that that's the full story. And there's just been a massive fraud in the press from a chap called Sam Bankman-Fried, who is probably going to turn out to be one of America's most recent and greatest fraudsters, who's stolen a lot of people's money. And I've just seen on my phone earlier on today, he's just pleaded innocent to it. So maybe we should, well, he's stolen people's money, hasn't he? So, and a lot of people call it a Ponzi scheme, which is a pyramid scheme, which is a form of fraud, where profits are paid to earlier investors with funds from more recent investors, he said with his Google definition. Another scam. So some people are really up for it and some people think it's rat poison. And all the institutions and countries seem to be coming out seem to be a little bit scared of it. So if they're scared of it, maybe there might be something in it. Is it good? Is it evil? Is it nectar? Is it poison? Men will still corrupt it, of course, and women. That's equality. Or is it a way to give power back to the people? Is it money for the poor? Poverty, as I say, is highly correlated with health outcomes. What if Bitcoin somehow was part of the solution? Is that nonsense? Is that absolute nonsense? Or is it a possibility? How often do doctors engage with these things? I don't know. Probably not very often. We always look for causes, but we often don't ask the questions, even when we know patients quite well. So I've heard in the past that health costs in America, I think they're responsible for about 60 to 70% of the bankruptcies in America are due to health costs alone. So, you know, it's crazy. So is it actually our responsibility to look deeper to help people, or if it's a terrible idea, warn them about it? We treat people with gambling addictions, treat them supposedly, and these are all parts of people's lifestyle, so it does touch on medicine. Will the government ban it? Maybe, but I don't hear anything about that around here. Is that even possible? Wouldn't they rather make money out of it and tax it? I think that sounds a bit more plausible to me. I don't know. And they can't tax it anyway unless you sell it. Can they? Maybe they'll invent a new law that says they can. I don't know. So I thought we'd test that we'll test Bitcoin. This is what I propose. A 12 months period is a reasonable time period for an experiment, don't you think? In which time we could develop a set of safe rules. I say we, you shouldn't do this, by the way. Don't follow me. This isn't financial advice. You watch the experiment if you like. So the idea is to invest a little bit of money in it on a regular basis and just let it run automatically. The Americans, I think, call it dollar cost averaging. I assume that means we call it pound cost averaging, but dollar cost averaging is, most of this stuff that you see when I've looked at papers seems to be American, so that's the phrase that gets used. So there we go. If you do invest any money, expect to lose it all. So don't invest and don't follow what I say. This is just an experiment that I'm going to go through for myself. And I'm going to explore the thesis and think about it. Is Bitcoin good for you? Could it lower your anxiety? Maybe it'll raise your anxiety. Could it cure cancer? No, of course not. But it might help you cover your medical bills if it exploded to the upside. Or will it cause you more problems than it's worth? We have a generation who are struggling to own any of their own property. If you've got kids, do you expect your kids to be able to afford a house in the UK anytime soon? This is known as digital property, which is a pretty hard concept to get your head around, but it's not, no one's proposing using it as money anytime soon, I don't think, but the American financial agencies, I'm not sure what they're called, FCA, does that sound right? Have designated this a property. Now, there's a whole load of other cryptocurrencies. I'm not going to talk about them. I'm not interested in them. I don't know anything about them, but they are owned by people. People who give themselves a big, fat bunch of the pie that they can cash in later on and sail around the world on their yachts. That is not possible with Bitcoin because nobody owns it. So I'm not going to get involved in these other 2,000, 20,000, whatever it is, cryptocurrencies. I'm not interested. I'm not talking about them. I'm only going to talk about Bitcoin. My experiment is only with Bitcoin. As far as I'm concerned, those things are all scams. There might not be, but I'm just operating as though they are. Okay. So, so what I was thinking of was maybe I could do £10 a week for a year, or maybe £2 a day or something like that for a year. So I had to find out somewhere where you could buy the Bitcoin. That's done on something called an exchange. I'd read in the press that FTX was an exchange that just went bankrupt a few months ago. total disaster, and people who left their money on the exchange would lose it all, or invested in FTX would lose it all. And they were considered legit until the day that they weren't. So if you buy anything on there, don't leave any money on there. So I Googled a couple of things and I came up with something called Coinbase and something called Binance. I haven't spent all day doing this. These two seem to be big players. And I opted for one of them. And the one I opted for was Binance in the end. And the reason I did that was the fees. Coinbase looks as though it's quite well established in America and isn't going to go bankrupt anytime soon. But what do I know? I'm going to assume it can go bankrupt tomorrow. Binance is not based in America or the UK. I think I read something that said it's based in Malta, but that sounds like a flag of convenience, maybe. So I went with Binance, and I'm going to try and show you the reason why by just changing this video and flicking over to a screenshot and see how successful that is. So I did a quick Google, and this is a website called bitdegree.org. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know who sponsored it, but I was looking for this. I wanted to know how much it costs to buy Bitcoin on the platforms. And Binance was 0.1% trading fees, the fee you'll have to pay to buy. And this was 3.99% on Coinbase. 40 times more expensive. Unless I'm missing something, I don't know. So I thought I'd go with Binance. So that was that. Let me flip back to a different screen. Sorry, I'm just learning this, guys. So I was looking into that and I found that on Binance, they wouldn't let me do £10 a week. It had to be £15 or $15. Now, if I do that over 52 weeks, that's a cost of £780, more than I wanted to do. But anyway, now also I want to show you what we're trying to do. So in a way, we're trying to beat inflation. And inflation in the UK at the moment is dreadful. I think the official figures are somewhere between maybe, I don't know, 10%, but I've just Googled it on here and found a website that gives something that looks more realistic to me. Let's try this. So I assume this is a legitimate website, Trueflation. Tell me if it's not. And this is the inflation in the UK. The rate is 20.12%. In the US, which seems to be the only other country involved, 5.69% only, but closer to 20% in the UK. So that feels about right when I've been to the supermarket, that the prices are 20% higher, which means that if you've got £500 at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, 12 months later, that only has £400 worth of spending power. That's a big problem, isn't it? So with this experiment, if you £15 a week for 52 weeks, your £780 will be worth, after inflation, £623. So if in 12 months' time it's worth more than £623 in Bitcoin, then that has been a successful investment, assuming inflation is unchanged, which of course it won't be. So on the other hand, if it's worth more than £623, then or the inflation adjusted equivalent, then it's successful at preserving the value of your money. If it went up 20%, it'd be worth £936. That would be, I think we'd probably agree, a good investment. So I wanted to create a set of rules that are safe, that explores this idea. And while we're doing it, while I'm doing it, you shouldn't do it. This isn't advice. To wonder and think about if it is a good thing for people's long-term health to have something other than 0 Bitcoin. So, but I might expect to lose all my money. Now, I don't want to lose it stupidly, so I'm going to have to buy a device to take it off of the exchanges, because I'm not going to leave it on there. Binance could go bankrupt tomorrow. If you buy some Bitcoin, it's got to come off straight away into some other wallet. So if it goes bankrupt and the website blows up and somebody else gets arrested, like this Sam Bankman-Fried character, I'll still have access to the Bitcoin. So they're the rules. I need to buy that device. I'm not going to bother with other crypto coins, so that's not for me. Only Bitcoin, because it's a property, like a house, supposedly. Hard to understand at the moment, but I'll get used to the idea. And all the other cryptocurrencies are shares. They're like what they call, the Americans keep calling them securities. I've not grown up with that word, but like shares in things, which means that shares blow up all the time. You don't know what's going on that board meeting or what's going on behind the scenes in the company. I'm not gambling on that. I don't understand that. Now, I thought I would put in maybe £100 to start it, just so we're not having a really, really slow start. But a funny thing happened when I did this a couple of days ago. I haven't bought any Bitcoin yet, but I want to do it today. Is that I got a freebie, I think. Let me show you what happened by trying to change the camera again. Now, I generally wasn't expecting this, but when I signed up with Binance, which wasn't very difficult, it was pretty fast, I came across all these other rewards as though, well, they were a total surprise. I hadn't used any affiliated links or anything like that. So to verify your identity, they give you $20 cash back. Now, I did that. I'm happy to do it. I understand that some people think cryptocurrencies are really some sort of secret business. I don't. I was quite happy to verify my identity. I just felt more secure doing it, actually. I didn't really think too much about it. Maybe you'll tell me it's a terrible idea. But they rewarded me for doing that. Nowadays, everybody asks you for identity stuff, don't they? So you get kind of used to it. I'm not cavalier about it, but I was happy to do that. And then I deposited $10, and they want to give me $30 cash back. Fine. And when I make the first trade, they want to give me $50 cash back. It's $100. It's very good of them. I don't know why more people just don't go in, take the 100 and clear off with it. Maybe I'm missing something. I'll find out, I guess. And those vouchers, I've only done 2 of those things so far. They appear as waiting to be used, and I've got to use them pretty quickly before the 6th, though. I'll get cracking with that and do it and try and buy, hopefully I can buy Bitcoin with it, because that's all I want to buy. I don't want to buy some other thing I don't, I understand even less than Bitcoin. So that's that. They're my tasks, and that is that. And if you can get that offer as well just by logging on. But if you logged on and used my referral code, we'll both get rewarded for it. So I'll put that in the link down below, this link here. So that will be much appreciated if you'd like to do that. We'll be blood brothers and sisters. And you can do the same thing. Anyway, I'm not recommending it. This whole website could go bankrupt and disappear tomorrow, as far as I know. But that would be very bad luck, I think, and very bad timing. So that's that. So that's my experiment. What do you think? The rules are that I'm going to expect to lose the money and hope not to. I'm going to try and keep it as safe as I can. I'm going to deposit a smallish amount, but regularly, so that it wipes out some of the volatility, which has been crushing, I think, over the last few years. But anyway, we're not going in when it's sky high, but it could drop another 90% from here, I suppose. At the end of the year, it might be only worth £100, and we'll go, that wasn't the greatest idea of the century. on the way, we'll learn about it because there'll be an investment in it. If you're engaged in it, it's like putting a £5 bet on the horses. The game's a lot more interesting if you do. That's that. So I'm not recommending Binance, but that's the one I've chosen. I'm going to find something that means if I buy some Bitcoin, I get it off there in case it goes bankrupt. I was happy to verify my identity, but you may not be, but don't follow me either way. And we'll just find out what happens over the year. But recording it now and putting this out means that I'm committed. So it'll either work or it won't. And then along the way, what I want to do is just consider, is this an aspect of health that we're missing out? Financial health. That can drag you down. Debt can burn your gut. I'm not saying this is the answer. Plenty of people, the last thing on their minds is going to be to buy some Bitcoin when they're trying to put some food on the table. But there's a bigger picture here, I think. And this is something that gives people throughout the world some sort of flexibility, removes some of the banking system that has taken a lot of their agency from them, and it might be some power back to the people. So I'm going to look at it from this direction. I'm not sure if anybody else is doing this. I'm hoping it's an original way of looking at it, hopefully. But and I don't want to spend too much time on doing it because I've got other things I want to do on the channel talking about my main stuff. But I just wanted to establish this now because this is week 1 of 52. And that means there's 51 to go. Mathematics wasn't my strong point. Okay? Right. Thank you. Good night.